All right, man. Just had to take my hoodie off. It's getting hot here.
God, it's getting a little bit of toasty here, too. It's going to rain the rest of the week, though. It is October 24th, the year 2023. Welcome aboard, everybody. You listen to the Crushing Iron podcast. This is episode 725.
Yeah, it is. It's storm. I had my first real storm up here this morning. It woke me right up.
Well, we haven't had rain in, I don't know, 2 months, it seems like. And we're about to play catch up because it's going to rain the rest of the week. And then it's going to be full on winter in like the 30s. So, but you know what? Bring it. It just brings a little bit of, that fall winter feeling that we've all got to get over at some point. But yeah, it is. It's that time of year. We could use the rain. The earth needs it. We all need it. It's good for us.
Yeah. Perfect training weather too. Little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Great for getting outside. And I'm sure everybody that did Ironman California this weekend is like,
yeah, no shit.
Can we get a break? Like that race is cursed. I mean, it is like it's like, hey, I think the forecast for like the last 2 months, because it's California. What is it? Low 50s, highs in the mid 70s. It's like year round. And then the forecasting leading up to the race is like perfect weather. I think I even mentioned on the podcast last week as an athlete say, hey, what do you freak out about when the weather's perfect?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you didn't. It was almost, the start wasn't as bad as Louisville's, but it was almost Ironman Louisville-esque with the rains and the wind that came in, like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then you had North Carolina 70.3, who's traditionally, I mean, let's not, the swim was insane. I think I saw somebody out in the water in 30 something minutes for the Ironman swim. That's just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got North Carolina 70.3 that happened, and traditionally a insanely fast swim. And I pulled up the tracker. We had a bunch of athletes there. I'd say it's one of our athletes' favorites. Great race, been around for a long, long time. Used to be Beach Battleship before Ironman bought it. Anyway, and I would say the times were 8 to 10 minutes slower than normal. I mean, it was not. There was still a lot of wash back in the chair. It was not a fast swim. So, and then it was very windy. He had a headwind on the bike. Just, listen, it always goes to show you that even if you, think what's going to be like, you better be ready to make a decision to make a decision on the fly and kind of adjust things. And, that's what a lot of athletes did. And they ended up having a pretty good day.
Yeah. I guess what you freak out about when it looks like it's perfect is that you freak out because weather people are rarely right.
I guess that's also true.
It's like, I don't trust this.
Yeah.
I was at Wisconsin this year and it's kept saying perfect. And I was like, nope, I'm not buying it till I'm in the water.
Yeah, no such thing. Yeah, I guess that's also true. No one ever no one puts any stock in weathermen or weatherwomen until it's race week. And then you're like, it's set in stone. Everything you see is set in stone. But yeah, it's funny. In lieu of doing my general intro today, I thought I might read our most recent iTunes review from Audio Motion. Did you read it?
No, I didn't, but I haven't looked at those in a while. Who's it from? Audio Motion?
No, Audio Motivation is its title, but it's from Jimp Start 11. And I feel like this might be one of the most, what sums up our podcast pretty well. And it goes like this. Can't wait for new episodes to be released. Robbie and Mike keep the conversation going. Robbie's experience-based observations are spot on. And when I'm thinking of skipping a day for no good reason, I dial up the archives and listen to Mike and Robbie, and it gets me going. One disclaimer. If your feelings are easily hurt when someone is making a strong point that you feel might be directed at you, you may want to skip ahead to the awesome closing tune. And I just think perfectly said, because listen, because I think one before that was, the most honest try podcast out there. Listen, we are honest. We do say things, myself, most of the time it's me, but incredibly blunt and straightforward. There's just, it's candor is encouraged. And there's not a lot of it these days. It's either sugarcoat or people beat around the bush. Listen, our job is to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey. So sometimes we just need to lay it out there so you can hear it straightforward. You don't have to think through, hey, I wonder what they're really saying. You know what we're saying. And if we're being honest, most of the time when you and I say it, we're talking to each other or we're talking to ourselves. So it's more, like you said, a conversation between two guys that are coaches and athletes, and trying to still find our way in this crazy, complicated sport oftentimes. And we try to deliver things in a very clear message. But it's always with love. Maybe a little bit of a too much tough love, but it's always with love and always with your best interest in mind.
Wow. That was a variation of the intro, kind of sneaking it in there, I think.
Yeah, snuck in a few little lines. I'm just trying to be flexible.
We got a nice little Facebook group you can join. Always supportive. A lot of people came in this week again.
Saw that.
You saw that?
It's a hard time of year. We'll throw it out here, but I'll be honest. Like, it's funny because listen, I always go back to the first 3 to 4 months we were doing this podcast, and we got a review, and we did the dog cast, right? And this guy's like, you guys are never going to make it. You're going to run out of ideas. You're going to run out of topics. Well, he was wrong. But more importantly, I can see that, right? Because with triathlon, you get past the World Championships and you get past all the big races. You only got a couple more left, at least for your North American calendar. And then it just kind of slows. You got Thanksgiving, you got, Christmas, New Year's, people kind of detach for a little bit. They're not super engaged. And it's hard to, sometimes, especially I think for a lot of other podcasts that are interview based, because most people just check out. It is hard. It's hard to create content, sometimes, but for us in the conversations that we have, we do have a readily available user base of topics with the athletes. We look in Training Peaks and talk to our athletes a ton. So we always kind of get the vibe of what's going on in a broad aspect. It's like our own little poll, right? Our own little Gallup poll. We kind of generally feel what the sense is, around athletes this time of year, and it gives us a good launching point. But yeah, it's a slower time of year, but what that means is it hopefully frees up a little more space for you up top, right? You're doing less things physically. Volume and intensity should be a lot less demanding than it is in the meatier part of the year. So it should free up a little more mental and emotional space, a little more mental emotional energy to be thoughtful and look back and look through things about the previous year. And kind of the topic of the day, there's always a phrase, and we use this a lot in terms of, training and not changing things just to change them. I think that was even a topic a couple weeks ago, about some athletes just change things on a whim just to change them, for the sake of not being able to pay attention for that long. So we always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't just change it to change it. Having said that, one of the biggest issues you see with age group triathletes and those that are self-coach, even those that have coaches, or the ones that work off a training plan, is that if it is broke, now's the time to fix it. And what I mean by that is, if going through the end of the year and seeing athletes, they're trying to listen, you're already scheduling for next year and thinking about taking on races, maybe taking on too much, maybe taking on the right amount, maybe even taking on, you can't really take on, too little, but a lot of people are asking, is this too much? What can I do? And as a coach, it's kind of your job to guide them in a way that can be responsible. But one of the biggest things athletes can do is look back at their life this year and figure out what worked and what didn't. And the biggest thing you can do is ask yourself, am I trying to fit, a square peg in a round hole in terms of what I want to do with training and not, and I'll use myself as an example, is that, I've got some races that I want to do next year. I'm trying to get back into shape, I'm trying to get back in a groove. And I generally flow with my own training on a 7-day week, 7-day calendar, and space things out. And as a coach, right, that's also trying to be an athlete and trying to get back in shape and do things. It's hard, right? We talked about it before we went online today, is it's hard to detach sometimes from, we do a sport that we love, that we've been doing it for a long time. We coach triathletes. We do a podcast about triathlon. Generally speaking, 90% of the conversations we have each day probably center somewhere in and around triathlon, or training for it, or questions about it, or emails, or a podcast, or Zoom calls, whatever it is. So it's a lot about life. So for me, at least, when I swim, bike, and run, it's still it doesn't feel like a job, but it feels job related. It kind of feels like, extra credit, continuing education for the job you already have. And what I've noticed the last 2 or 3 weeks is that Monday through Friday, right, your typical work week, even though, you and I would both agree, and any coach would, there really is no set off day for a coach unless you just put one in. Like you got the tracker going off this weekend on Saturday with North Carolina 70.3, and then the tracker going off all day Sunday with Ironman California. You answer a question. I mean, it's 7 days a week, but when you do the majority of your work Monday through Friday, I haven't missed a single session the last 2 or 3 weeks of the Monday through Friday. But then when it comes to Saturday morning, I wake up and all I want to do is detach, disconnect, give me some space. Because even just for me, again, the thought of going out for a run or a swim or a ride feels almost work related. And I find myself wanting that, kind of a detachment. And so I haven't done anything on Saturday or Sunday. I've been nailing the Monday through Fridays. And so now, as I take this week, and I got swim camp coming up starting on Thursday. So next week, I'm going to plan out a simple Monday through Friday week and know that I'm going to take Saturday and Sunday totally off and see how it works out. Now, listen, it might work out perfectly or it might work out not. And it might turn out that the Saturday, Sunday isn't my problem. It's the length of time to stay focused. That could also be it. But what I'm willing to do is I'm willing to change it. I'm willing to turn things around. I'm willing to, flip the script, because what I'm doing isn't working. So I need to find something that is. There could be a lot of reasons for that. But, the point being is that a lot of athletes commit to a training schedule or a desire for volume or a desire for intensity that they cannot handle, right? You want to train someone else's life. You overcommit races and you got really no business doing them. And if you want to be successful and you want things to be attainable and you want to keep this endurance sports journey something that's sustainable and long-term, which eventually gets you the best results and allows you to have the most fun along the way, is finding a process that works for you, not for someone else, but for you. And it has nothing to do with hours. It has nothing to do with intensity. It has everything to do with you. Okay. Quick example. Let's see, at California, I think I had six athletes finish everywhere from just over 11 hours all the way up through the 15-hour range. Every single athlete that finished that race had a drastically different average hour outlook, all the way from a whopping 3 to 4 hour average week of training, which I do not recommend.
Somebody after my heart.
Yeah, but they're a gamer. And then another athlete who had 6 to 7 hours of training a week for an Ironman and blew his previous PR out of the water. And the other ones in the higher end, and everybody still with PR. So there's no one way to do great or to get your best performance or to just get it done, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, but just get it done. So again, especially in this age of Facebook groups and social media and Instagram and podcasts that interview, professional athletes, 24/7, and you hear all these insane amounts of volume, right? Like I had an athlete yesterday text me a video of Lucy Charles Barkley and her swim, on Kona. Everybody's trying to go through the analysis, and this is why she's great, and this is why she does this, and this is why your swim needs to look just like that. Well, I'm not of that group. I don't think your stroke should look just like Lucy Charles Barkley. This athlete sent me a video and the breakdown of it. It was like, yeah, and she only swims 15K a week, and I said, no, you misheard. She swims 50,000 yards a week. She spends more time in the pool than the average age grouper spends overall. Somebody can run. She also has no kids, no job, right? This is her job, right? So it's like, you should have just the same stroke as this professional athlete who trains a ton and swims 50K a week and, could probably make the Olympic trials. No, you are your own person. You are your own athlete. You have your own abilities. You have your own strengths. You have your own weaknesses. You have your own life. Therefore, fit the training and the training prescription around that. Stop force feeding it from every single podcast you listen to, every training plan you see someone download in your Facebook group or the book that you read. carve it out, make it your own, and that's the best way to be successful.
Yeah, I don't think people should copy her stroke either. I think they should probably copy Phelps. Nail that one. 50,000. That's pretty good stuff. I had, speaking on this topic, I had a pretty big wake-up call for something that I knew was coming eventually. You know, I've been in this sport about 10 years or whatever, and I am getting older, obviously, and I think that, you know, just over time, one of my big concerns has just been general strength. And we do, you know, I feel very strong about being able to run and ride bikes and stuff like that. But this weekend I went up to my buddies to help him with his new house, build his new house. And I didn't really know what I was getting into until he took me to this like sawmill out in the middle of the woods with this guy. It was kind of like a Sanford and Son setup. It was just shit everywhere, man, like muddy and rainy. And we were there. I mean, it was actually a really cool thing because I've never seen it before, how they take tree trunks and turn it into wood planks and stuff like that. But the problem was I had to haul all that shit. And while I handled it okay, it was just amazing because the guy doing all the work or the cutting and everything, he was 75 years old and he was just throwing around planks like it was no big deal. These big oak 9 and 10 feet pieces of wood, and he's just launching them around and shit. And by the end of the day, I was absolutely destroyed. It was kind of like, And I've been just, you know, I've been thinking about that a lot because I do feel strong in triathlon pretty much, but I kind of feel like I need to get back in the game. So now is really the time that I'm going to look at doing things. You know, even simple things like you swim a lot, you know, using your lats and your tris, and I feel like maybe, your front end, your biceps and things like that don't get as much work. And I've been having a lot of small pains, as you know, and my shoulders and shit like that. And sometimes I think it's because some muscles get way stronger than others and things get out of balance. So that's one of those things that I'm really looking at right now. I kind of, I have this concept. I want to get a little bit more country strong, especially because I'm up here. And the next time they drag me to the North Woods, I mean, that's hard living up there, dude. Right off of Lake Superior. It's just a whole different world. But, you know, these guys are just hauling shit around like it's no big deal. And every time I'm picking something up, I'm kind of analyzing it and making sure I'm all balanced or whatever. But I don't know. It's just interesting to think about different lifestyles and how you get strong in certain ways. And obviously he could never do anything near a triathlon. So it's a different game, but I think there's always room for kind of filling out the balance of your body. And for me, this is the time to do that. And it feels good. And I'm not, you know, making any kind of big to do about it, but I'm just kind of getting back into some certain things and throwing around a medicine ball a little bit and, you know, just simple walk around the house kind of stuff, but I need to get it going.
Well, I mean, I think we all need to get some things going, right? And I think that's one of the problems that I think a lot of triathletes have is that they have this need and this desire to go all the way in, or not, they go all the way out. And
right.
It's hard, I think, for athletes, right? To, like you're saying, maybe focus on strength. That doesn't mean you got to focus on, put the same level of effort into swimming, cycling, and running, and then be so terrified that you're going to lose fitness in the other ones. The best thing you can do right now is to find something to work on. You know, we talked about that a lot the last few weeks, is to find one thing you need to work on. Like look back at the last year and assess, what went wrong or what is broken and try to fix it. Because, and I'm a firm believer that, a lot of people will say, strength training, it just makes me a ton faster. It makes me so much faster. Well, there's very, in terms of like endurance sports, 7.3 and up, and even Olympic distance, there's very little literature to support that strength training directly makes you faster. I do, however, believe, because we do strength training, I do, however, believe that strength training indirectly does allow you to become and be faster. It does, I think, help you, especially in running. I do think it helps you hold your run form better. So if you hold your run form better, you have better running economy. If you have better running economy, And then running is easier at a faster pace, which also causes you to break down later on in the run. So instead of breaking down an hour and 20 minutes with your run form because your structure is tired, you break down after an hour and 30. So you got 10 extra minutes of running with good form. Easier effort, you'll be faster, right? It also helps keep you injury free to an extent. That also indirectly makes you faster, right? If you don't get injured as much, we talk about this a lot, the best ability is availability. And most people's reason for taking extended time off is because of an injury or a niggle. And so if it can do that, then it allows you to do more of the stuff that actually is going to get you really, 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 really fit. So those things are great. So it's keeping you engaged, and it does have a, depending on what you're going to focus on your swimming, you're going to focus on your running, you can focus on your riding, you can focus on strength. Same goes for nutrition, fueling, right? Does eating cleaner directly make you faster? No, not really. Not over a long haul. Does it indirectly make you faster? Yes, right? Because let's say you're changing your body composition, you lose 5 to 10 pounds. Does that make you faster? 100%. Makes you faster in the water, makes you faster on the bike, right? Especially going up hills, and it definitely makes you faster on the run. What does it also do? It means you're carrying less weight. Your body got accustomed to carrying around 200 pounds while you ran for an hour. Now it's carrying a 185. Guess what? Running faster, easier on your body, less injuries. So it indirectly makes you faster, right? So there's a lot of things that we can do that still focus without feeling like we have to go all in on the race we want to do this time next year, without feeling like we have to always, because listen, I think this may not make a lot of sense in terms of an analogy, but I'm going to give it a whirl anyway. When it comes to training and racing, you really need to look at from the time you want to start focusing on a race, you want to look at it like a chessboard, right? You got all your pieces lined up on your side. You got your 2 rows, you got your pawns, you got your king, your queen, your knight, your rook, you're settled back on your end. Whatever they call it, castles, those things. And then the point is to make it to the total other end, right, of the chessboard, right, with your king to win. You don't get there all at once. You move incrementally, right? Move a pawn here, move one back, move one forward, move one back. Generally speaking, and again, I'm no chess grand wizard here, but
no, I don't think so.
or Bobby Fischer. If you want to, you can catch me in the Cracker Barrel playing the giant checkers. But the point being is the visual of, you don't move everything forward and try to advance everything all together at one time. You just don't. You put a few pawns out there. You move one, move a queen up, move a castle up, move whatever, a knight up, whatever it is. But you do it incrementally to try to get all the way to the end. You don't advance all at once, right? You also don't put your best stuff out there because it's going to get taken away. You do it slowly, and you're also willing to put some stuff out there and put time into things you're probably going to lose later on, but for the sake of the long game. And so you can't advance all at once. People have a really hard time, wrapping their brain around that. It's already November. People worried about losing fitness. Guess what? Hear me out. Losing fitness is good for you, because then you gain it back. You cannot continue on a upward trajectory of gaining fitness without succumbing to injury or becoming stale and overtrained and no longer getting the same adaptations to the same stimulus. You need to undertrain, and that's okay, right? So panic training this time of year, not a good idea. Find something and understand that it's okay to move forward in one thing that you're going to work on and peel back the other ones a little bit. That's okay, right? You don't want to totally forget your strengths, but find things to keep you involved, keep you engaged, and especially, like you said, go back. Strength has been a focus of mine too. Like I did this, I think it's been like 2 weeks. Hayden's trying to get a little bit quicker in his with his feet for hockey, and so I created this quick little 2-minute circuit for him to do something fun, and he did it outside. Now he has to do it like every other day after school. I'm like, what is wrong with you, kid? I was like, I'll do it with you first time. I did it twice. I was sore for 4 days.
For doing
we were doing like frog jumps, we were doing side to sides, we were doing air squats, we were doing box jumps, we were doing shuttle runs. And I got done 2 days later. I was going upstairs. I was like, oh my God, I got to get this right. And so I was like, but so again, like same thing. If it's broke, try to fix it. Not that I'm broken or I think I've got to, turn to the gym and go do CrossFit 5 times a week. But I do know that if I want to get to where I want to get, I've got to do that. And I also know, and this is the most important piece, that right now, it really fits into my life pretty well. I can do it from home. I can run from home. I can bike from home or bike at home. I can do it all. Very easy to do time-wise. What I love to get to the pool 3 times a week. Do I even tell myself, man, if you get to the pool 3 times a week, you could easily be in like the 54, 55-minute range for a full and down to 26, 27 for me. Let's do it. Like, you got this. And then I don't know, about 48 hours later, you know what I tell myself? That was a pipe dream.
Yeah.
There's no way you're making it. There's no way you're making it to the pool 3 times a week, right? And then, so I just have to kind of accept, like, and as I'm kind of looking at structuring my training program next week for 5 days a week, I have it laid out as such. I have it laid out as a bike run Monday, bike run Tuesday, and then a Wednesday easy swim to make sure I'm getting the pool, but also just more so active recovery, keeping feel for the water, taking, basically an upper body day, taking load off the legs, and then bike run Thursday, bike run Saturday, bike run Friday, and then off Saturday, Sunday. If I want to go swim Saturday, I will, but chances are I'm probably not. Probably gonna want to sit on the couch, enjoy the fact that it's fall outside, and watch college football with my kid. That's a no. At least that's what the last 3 weeks have told me, that you're not going to go. That you want to sit back, relax, have a cup of coffee, not feel like you have to go anywhere. And the more that I can tell myself, because listen, you know this too, it's a lot harder to tell that to your athletes than it is to tell yourself. In training picks, I'm like, dude, be flexible.
Yeah.
Chill out. Relax. I even told somebody yesterday, listen, I would love to see you take a day off this week. Right? It's like, chalk that up into things you never thought you would hear a coach say. I would love to see you take a day off this week. Because you got not two different kinds, but a lot of different kinds of athletes, but generally they kind of all fall in like one spot, right? The ones that are normally, like, have been doing this for a long time, that are normally flexible, that normally show themselves grace, then they're usually the best athletes because they listen to their body, they know when to take a day off, they have a great, real healthy relationship with training. Then the other two ends of the spectrum, right? You've got the ones that will look for any excuse at all not to train, right? I forgot my AirPods at home. I hate running without my AirPods. So you know what? I'm going to scrap it today. And then, the next day. So they're always kind of looking for an excuse to not do anything. You have that end. Then the other end, you've got the athlete who, I don't know. I lost a lower limb today, but I had to get my run in. So I had the doc, give me a couple extra injections, and you don't even hear about it for 2 weeks later. You're like, hey, I see that your pedal stroke is really kind of messed up. I've only seen the right leg. Yeah, I lost my lower limb a couple weeks ago. No big deal. Back on the training thing. Didn't miss anything. I'm all good. Still thinking about doing 2 fulls next year. But can you have that athlete that you have to tell to take a day off because you have to teach them that it's okay, and then not kind of like go down that black hole of has to be done. That's so stringent and so rigid that it removes the flexibility and the fun of the moment. So I told an athlete, you just take a day off. But if I'm telling myself, or as an athlete, then you make this plan and you're like, God, why can't you just get this done? You got to get it. And you start beating yourself up, right? And so it's hard to preach like, it's that's what I say, it's a lot easier said than done. Mm-hmm. And I have a hard time telling myself that or giving myself a break and not doing this. I'm trying to do better with that. That's my goal for next week, is to, practice more of what I preach, be flexible and make a change. And then the thing is, and this has been a long, like a huge, not issue, but a huge, kind of a mental thing. I've been an emotional thing. I've tried to like rearrange in the last 7 years since Hayden is born. Is like, try to like, what am I making up as, dad guilt and what's really there? Or does my kid even really care that I'm, not biking right now? Right. And to take time for myself and to do these things, but also can I make things to where I'm like fully in, because athletes have the same problem, is that whether you're a parent or not, and you could be married and have the same problem, is you can not head out for a bike ride because you feel guilty, and then you're going to feel guilty staying at home because you should be getting your ride, and you're going to be spiteful or resentful, and so you're going to be kind of stressed about it.
Right.
Or you still choose to go out and do it, and then the whole time you're thinking, oh my God, I bet I'm pissing so and so off, or I bet my kids bummed. So no matter what, you're still kind of carrying it along. So I think it's a good time of year, right, to practice that flexibility and practice what fits in your schedule, but also practice just general self-care and good boundaries, and like removing that kind of like, guilt, shame piece from it. Because I do think if you can take that just easy flow of training and just let it go the next day, then you'll be an infinitely better athlete next year.
Yeah, well, everybody, you don't have to convince me to take a day off, but honestly, I think that's one of the things that I got to fix. And one of the ways that I've kind of come around on that a little bit, at least right now, and have found a little groove with it, is that in lieu of the upcoming run challenge, I've been kind of thinking about that, and we've been talking about it, and this kind of a frequent shorter run type of deal, and I was thinking, that's really good, because I want to go outside, but some of these low heart rate runs are just better for me just to jump on the treadmill, and so it's just like 20 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. Just get on there, bust it down for 20 minutes and get off. It's not that hard, especially for somebody like me who has a tendency that I think, one of those types of athletes you were just talking about, to do things and then be like, well, I didn't get anything. I just won't do anything tomorrow. I'll kind of do a monster day tomorrow, I guess, instead of today doing anything. So I get in that habit, but for me, it's really nice to kind of just take off little chunks and get in that routine, because, as and we talk about all the time, it's so much better if you're going to run, maybe 5 days a week, 20, 30 minutes, rather than one day a week and going out and doing an hour and a half or 2 hours, so I think, I've talked about it a lot as my goal going into any race is just to be feeling as good as possible, probably the best I've felt all year, hopefully. And I do believe, and you mentioned earlier someone who didn't train a whole ton for an Ironman. I mean, I think anything's possible out there to go get it, if you're in the right mindset and you feel good and you feel strong. And when I was talking about building strength and everything like that, it was just more about rounding things out for me and feeling good. I saw something, I think it was last night, somewhere somebody posted one of these, I think it was Mark Sisson, actually. He said something about, instead of, being concerned about what your scale says every morning, be concerned about how easy it feels to get out of the chair, or to pick something up, or to move around and, change, move some furniture or whatever like that. Because really the bottom line is it isn't about that number as much as how do you feel. And are you going the right direction? And, I think it puts a lot of pressure on you sometimes if you're looking at so many metrics or whatever. But if I wake up and feel good out of the blue, I mean, I could, we've seen it a lot of times where you're in training and maybe you take 3 or 4 days off and you go out and have to do a tough bike ride and you might feel amazing. It's kind of about how your overall body balance and, where you're at mentally and how fresh you feel and stuff like that. And that's kind of how I look at racing. And that's kind of how I'm trying to look at training right now, is just to keep fresh. As we say, exercise is supposed to give you energy, not take it away. And I think we get trapped in that cycle a lot of times where it's like barely holding on to the end of a workout, damn it. And then you're tired and everything's, just kind of snowballs. So it's more about kind of stopping while you're ahead maybe a little bit. And, whenever I'm sort of sitting around the house and I'm like, what am I going to do next? I have maybe 5 minutes. Maybe I'll just go do some push-ups or little things like that, or grab some dumbbells and just throw them around. It doesn't have to be always formalized. That's always been kind of my technique for strength building, is just, watching you're watching the game and a commercial comes on, just do something for 3 minutes or whatever. And just kind of getting a routine like that, where it doesn't have to be scheduled for 45 minutes and then you can't fit it in and you don't do anything.
That's like in a nutshell what I've honestly been trying to do. And listen, it's for everyone's life, it's hard.
Yeah.
Right. Whether you're, like yourself, living by the lake with your, life situation and relationships, and it's totally different for me, right? With my relationship and a son, and it's different for other people, right? Who've got, maybe a single parent or, different jobs. Like, listen, everyone, that's like one of my least favorite like comments people make is like, yeah, it could be worse. It could always be worse. Right. But everybody's, your own worst is really, it sounds selfish, but it's the only thing that matters to you because it's the only thing that directly affects your life on a day-to-day, minute-by-minute, second-by-second basis. Yes, you'll have emotions and thoughts and feelings, right, of different things that happen to friends and family and things around the world, right? But then you go about your daily life. It's a great thing because you don't sit there and dwell on it. It's also, sometimes unfortunate because we as a world, we find ourselves getting right back in the same things over and over and over again. And, nothing gets addressed or fixed. But before I even get close to that soapbox, I'm going to reel it back in real quick. But the thing is that like, that's one of the hardest things I've been trying to do the last month, really, is one, understand like, hey, if I want to do this race next year, I've done, I kind of have the same schedule, same flow. We got our camps, we got work. I kind of know that, but it's the life stuff that always kind of throws you. And then look at last summer, like that's more of a typical summer. Did I travel more? So when should I train? What even can I work up to? And the best thing you can do, right, is to undercommit, over deliver. And that's it with your training. But so instead of forecasting and thinking, yeah, I really need to get in a 20 mile run and then at least a couple 6.5 hour rides for this race. That's all you're going to be thinking about, and how close you need to get to that. And then every time you have a setback, right, you're going to feel further and further and further away. Well, I had a conversation with an athlete a couple weeks ago. I was like, hey, listen, like I know you're thinking about doing this, but what if we did this? What if, Monday through Friday we did, this, and then the weekend, what if we just see what a 4-hour ride is going to get you for a full Ironman? What if we just see what a few 4-hour hard rides will get you for a full? It gives your whole day back, right? And if we can fit that in a different day of the week, do we know what it's going to do? No, we've never done it before. But if it sounds exciting and you can do it, then it's already a better option, right? Because you're also going to enjoy the journey. So don't overcommit, undercommit, and then over deliver. And I mean over deliver by you get to 5 or 6 weeks out of your big race, whatever distance it is, and you're like, what? I think I can maybe do a little bit more. I'm really fit and I'm really loving this. Let me just stay where I am, and then maybe I'll over deliver on race day. Because that's what happens, right? Most athletes, especially for full distance races, overcommit in their training, under deliver on race day. 7 times out of 10, at least. Overcommit, under deliver on race day. And another one of the things I'm trying to do right now is just kind of look back at look at my family calendar and then kind of track my fatigue or track my comments that I've made to myself. Like, when I wake up, how do I feel? Because I've got, Friday nights. And because I do think one of the reasons that I've felt extra tired Saturday mornings is we have a super long week, right? I get work all the week. And then Hayden's got hockey practice on a Friday night that starts at 6:20. So kid gets home from school. He's tired from the long week. Have a little bit of a break, and then you got to pack up. Because it's hockey, so you got like 19,000 bags you got to get packed. And you get packed, you head out the door, and you drive there. You get dressed, you do hockey practice. By the time you get home, it's past 8 o'clock. Your kid wants second dinner, and you're overexhausted and tired. You had no time to like really break or have like the Friday night like relax and the old TGIF days. And Saturday morning, I just wake up toasted. And so I'm trying to look back at like, or when he had baseball, that's just over. Like when are his games usually? If I know I'm going to go to bed late, is it best that I just try to like plan on having a really easy day the next day? And that's just something that I think we could all do a better job of like looking at these certain days of our week that we know are going to be harder to recover from. And then how do we adapt to that? How do we change that? How do we try to do better, right? And that's why we encourage our athletes to be so flexible and take such autonomy over their training and more of an athlete driven training plan than anything is, you know what you feel every minute of every day. We don't, right? So cut it short, go a little bit longer, make a switch if you need to, take a day off. Like that's the best case, because that is the undercommitting, over delivering piece of it. Because when you start to, again, continue to try to shove a round peg in a square hole, eventually it's going to break. You'll think you're close, right? Because it kind of fits in there for a second, but then you're saying, nah, it doesn't go. Can't make it work. And then you end up breaking, then you end up giving up altogether. And so when you look back at your year, you look back at the training you did, look back at your life, and you look forward and think, all right, what can I realistically do? Because guess what? Plan for 9, get in 9. Don't plan for 14, get in 7. Because again, most athletes do, they have that trouble area where if it's not perfect, it's not good enough. Can't be done. It's not good enough. I can't, he's like, I guess, a triathlete brain in the making. Like Hayden this morning, was just, he had his extra credit math homework to do. And they got the dreaded show your work. Even if you don't need to, gotta show your work. And so he's doing these math problems, it's 42 plus 17 or this and those kind of addition problems. And he's like, I'm not gonna have time to get it done. I can do the answer, but I can't do my work. And he's just freaking out. I'm like, first of all, you are not my child. I'd have been like, what extra credit? I wouldn't have any idea the teacher even handed it out probably. But he's like, he's if it's not gonna be totally done, then I'm not gonna get credit. And I'm like, dude, it's extra credit. Take a breath, just do your best, and just see what happens. But he was so worried that if it wasn't all done and done perfectly, then, it was I think 10 questions, 5 in the front, 5 in the back, then it wasn't going to be good enough. And I was like, dude, just use the time you have, do your best, turn it in. And I immediately thought of athletes and hey, if I can't do it perfectly, then what's the point in doing it at all? And that's never the attitude to have with anything, right? But it's also, I think we've gotten kind of programmed to have that as if it's not perfect, then why do it? Or if I know I'm not gonna succeed at it, why even try? And that's just we learn when we fail. It's always good to do things and to challenge yourself and to figure out, because a lot of times we just figure out, 1, we can't get it done, and 2, what we thought just wasn't true. And, again, the farther you are from your biggest race that matters, the better time it is to explore what that might look like in a week, or what that mindset might do to your whole year, by being flexible and being, and finding ways to be proud of yourself, finding ways to, and because that's another thing athletes should work on more. It's being proud of yourself, being happy with what you did. Don't be so disappointed or disgusted that your pace was 10 seconds slower. This was not what I was expecting today. That kind of stuff. Change, spend a lot of time working on your self-talk, right? How you keep yourself motivated, how you talk to yourself, how you set yourself up for success. Everyone wants to, do the research about the fastest deep dish wheel, or get a new trainer, or do I need a power meter, or should I get a new bike? And none of it's going to matter if you don't fix what's from the chin up. And that's, your mental, emotional resilience, and but also how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself. It's just, you and I talked before the podcast about just how, sick so many people are these days, both below the chin and above the chin. And no one looks for the root cause. And I think that's just, hey, focus on the things, again, going back to, I think I talked about strength training and fueling, right? Those won't directly impact, right? Performance gain. It won't directly impact you getting faster, right? Eating healthy isn't going to raise your VO2. It's not going to lower your VLA max. It's not going to make your aerobic base gigantic, right? Strength training isn't going to just all of a sudden make you jump 40 watts, without also, cycling. It's indirect, but the mental and emotional piece is so underrated. And you and I use the phrase gamers, right? Mm-hmm. You got gamers who go out there, and even if they're undertrained or haven't trained nearly enough, they're just a gamer. They know they're going to get it done, and it's from the chin up. And then you have ones that in practice, right? Practice Pats can put everything together in practice. When it comes to the pressure of race day, they crumble like a honey stinger waffle, right? I mean, they can't do it. That working on your mental and emotional resiliency, how you talk to yourself, how you speak to yourself, showing yourself grace, but also, pushing through during those hard moments. Stop looking for the easy way out. You want to talk about probably the biggest performance enhancer is that. Because then you'll be able to get every single thing out of yourself on race day. And then not the if, but the when that really difficult thing happens, that obstacle happens, the flat tire, the drop bottle, the leaky goggle, the whatever, you'll overcome it. You won't give in. And that, again, talking about a time of year where doing different things and challenge yourself in different ways, exploring, right, your strengths, your weaknesses, again, not just from a physical standpoint, but from emotional and a mental standpoint too.
Yeah, you said we learn when we fail, and I just really think that needs to be reiterated. We also grow when we fail, and there's a lot of, when I think about back to when we used to train a lot together back out on Natchez Trace, and we didn't do, we did that one real long ride that always sticks out in our head. It was kind of this wild, rainy kind of day, but for the most part, we didn't go 100. We would go out and do whatever, 70, 80 miles or something like that, but we'd always kind of go out and then just come back like a bat out of, we worked, by the time we got done, we had shelled ourselves a little bit. And I think that, you pointed out, it's like, is a 4-hour ride, will that work? And I have, without a doubt, it will, in my mind. It's just that I don't think people ride them hard enough, or you know what I mean, they don't dig and they don't explore and fail and experiment while they're out there. Like, that was sort of, I didn't even know we were doing the right thing, but it was the right thing. It was sort of like, even when we go out to open water, you had us just working, man. We were going hard in the water. And those are the gears that vary, that get rust on them with a lot of people, I think. And it sets you up for and some people will do it, and I have to reiterate, it's sort of like, I went out, this ride killed me today, 5 hours, it just crushed me. I'm like, that's all right. We got 2 months or whatever. You went out and pushed the limits. You're not going to race that way, a lot of times. And I just think it's good to explore that top end and really kind of see where you're at, and maybe not have a great day out there sometimes, and just feel how that feels and understand what that means. That means that, you've tested the limits, you've explored them, where that, where that governor is now, or you should understand it. That, people talk to me about pacing a lot and how do I learn how to pace better? Well, that's it. You got to go out and fail it and know where that is, and understand those limits and really get a good grasp of them. In the water, it's hard to do that. It's sort of like, go hard and then slow it down and just see how those differences feel, and, go out of your comfort zone and explore. And I think that's, I've never been like top podium guy or whatever, but I've had some really good rides back, especially back then. And I think over the last 4 or 5 years, I've gotten away from that. I've been putting in roughly the same amount of long rides or whatever, but not with nearly the intensity. I used to go hard even on the work day or the weekdays with the shorter rides, 1.5 or 2 hours, and really kind of test my limits. And, not go over the top all the time, but just really kind of push yourself. And, I always talk about those trainer rides, how important they can be if you learn how to push yourself, and you're not racing, you're training, you're trying to get better. And those are the things that, every day is not going to be perfect out there in training, and it shouldn't be, because you got to explore those edges sometimes. And to me, that's what it's all about. Is it's the old saying is, practice harder than you race, or practice harder than you in the game, and that'll feel a lot easier. So, those are, I think, things that people have to look at themselves and ask: are they really going hard enough? Are they going hard enough on the hard days and going easy enough on the easy days? And really understanding how to recover from maybe a day that went over the edge a little bit.
It's funny you mention that, because that's actually something as we look to 2024 and how to plan better and do better. for our athletes, that's actually something I've thought about, not just for myself, but for the athletes we work with, is throwing in one resilient session per discipline per month. And because I think they're needed. Again, you don't want them every week, right? Just like you don't want to crush yourself in training every week, physically. You also don't want to crush yourself mentally, right? Because then you're just done. But I do think weaving in a challenging resilience, exploratory swim, bike, and run is good. Something like if you're swimming, see how many hundreds you could do today. Right?
Yeah.
And just reset, on an easy interval. If you swim them on 130, do them on 150. So you're getting a 20-second rest, to keep them all easy. And then, because what I love about swimming though is because you do it for 100 and you could easily get out and be done. But then it's that convincing of yourself, just like, because to me it's the best. It mirrors the marathon the best, because the marathon, it's always one more mile. Let me just do one more mile. Let me just do one more 100. All right, well, one more is good. I got another one in me. Next thing you know, you're doing 10, 15, 30, 40, 50, and then you're like, man, I can do this. You don't need to do it every day, right? We talk about only got a couple of matches to burn in a year, but you got, it's like, you want to strike the match every once in a while, or see how big the burn's going to be when you do light it. And I think that's a great one for some. Biking could just be, this time of year, hop on your bike and see how long you can go. Just to test it. Not going to hurt yourself. Keep it all easy. And see, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, just resilient. Same thing on the run, right? Run, I give a range, but, run up to this today, or go find a, 10K or a half marathon trail race. Or be hiking. To me, that's what run camp is. We got run camp coming up in next month, and then again in February, and everyone's always amazed at how well they do and how much mileage they cover and how much elevation we do. It's just resilient training. You get a lot of positive peer pressure, right? Because you're surrounded by awesome people, and you get a lot of hard, workouts, and the place is beautiful, and it's like, really a wellness retreat that we call it run camp. But you go out there and you just kind of find that you can go, one more loop. You can run one more hill. You can do so much more, and then it just gives you so much confidence.
Yeah,
right.
Confidence.
And I think, I think the biggest thing that it gives you is that, like, it does bring back that confidence of like, if I can only got to do this once. And so it's great to also take into training, not so you can try to replicate that every week, but convince yourself that I just did it at run camp. If you go, I just did it at run camp. It also means I can do it on race day. So I know that I can keep, not overcommitting, but I can kind of keep, undercommitting, and then I can over deliver. I know how to over deliver. And that's the same thing as being a gamer. I know how to over deliver. Because I also see the same thing at run camp. I'm like, wait, I see your training, I see your data. You should be crushing this, but you're not, right? You're choosing to walk when you don't need to. It's because it's all chin up, 100% chin up. And so, again, another great thing to work on if you feel like the mental and emotional piece of your the resiliency piece inside your head, how you self-talk, if you feel like that's broken, now's the time to fix it. Not when you're in the thick of training and you're overanalyzing things already and stress is already too high. Start working on that now. There's so many things that if you feel are lacking or weak, or that you've got holes in, now's the time to fix it. Don't wait till May. Do it right now.
Yeah, dude, I love that idea, that resilience session. And that, I think that's what I was trying to say, is that I haven't done that to myself enough. And, I love this sport because it's, we talk about how, all sports, but this one is sort of like everybody kind of reflects, you look back and you're like, what could I have done differently? Or how could I was looking at my race this year, and I know it was just, kind of turned into a little bit of a shit show, but all I could think about was like, I know if my head would have been stronger, my mind would have been stronger, I could have cut 10 minutes off that run. I just know it, based on how I address that whole thing, and maybe even more, but I just I haven't had that sort of, resilience practice or something, because I didn't have the the switch to flip is, normally it would flip farther, or maybe you want to call it like a sliding, knob or something, that I couldn't get it to go far enough. It was stuck. And I just think that's such an interesting concept, because I think most people would probably feel the same when they reflect on it. They're like, I wasn't injured and I was running at times. Why did I stop? And it's because, I don't know, it's a little bit of a mystery, but I think it has something to do with what you're talking about with resilience and the ability to access that place.
And the cool thing about it, though, is that, which is also the challenging piece, is you're the only one that knows that answer.
I know. It's so cool.
And you can't go look for other people's answers, which we do all the time. Oh, so-and-so's doing that. You know what? That's exactly what I need. Yes, the chances that you randomly found the exact training, outline of what someone else did, or what they ate, or what they drank, that's exactly what you need. No, it's not. It was just the easiest thing, right? They came across. You don't want to think harder and work harder. It's one of those, but it's telling you, and that's so much of endurance sports, right? Is that it helps us answer those questions. It's depending how long you do sport, it is a long adventure that it's self-exploratory, that you just figure things out, then you got other things that pop up and you want to figure them out again.
Yeah. You have to find it on your own.
Yeah, you got to find it. You need, the right people to support you along the way. But ultimately, it's always your answer. It's always your answer. You got to look deep, look within, figure it out, and then, do it. And then, as most triathletes, it's figure out something else that you need to fix, or that can go wrong, or that needs to be adjusted. So, it's a never-ending pursuit, but, that's also why we keep coming back.
Yes, it is. We'll find it. We'll figure it all out.
We will.
By podcast 1000.
That's right. Exactly. We'll that's how we'll drop the mic on podcast 1000. We'll unlock all the doors, you all the keys to everything. You just got to keep hanging in.
It'll be like Al Capone's vault.
Exactly.
We'll be like, here it is, and there's nothing in here.
Yep. And then we'll interview Tupac Shakur, and then we'll be out because he's still alive. As always, we love you. We appreciate you guys. Hope you're having an awesome week and an awesome end of October. As always, go to our website, c26triathlon.com. And there's a one-stop shop for all things coaching camps and community. Looking for a different style, or to upgrade, or just coaching in general for 2024. Check out the coaching tab on our website. Again, that's c26triathlon.com. It's a one-stop shop. And find the coach that's right for you. If you have any questions for Mike, he is available. crushingiron@gmail.com. If you need anything from me specifically, c26coach@gmail.com.
All right, buddy.
All right, man. Check you later.
See ya.